Good evening. Crikey, that was a bit abrupt, wasn't it? I'll have to try and do a fader on that one next time. Good evening. Welcome to Summer Sunday Night Live. A bit later this evening because we did obviously want to see the end of the Newport Forrest Green game, which went really well because it's still being played. So that was a great start. So if you do see me going, all are, sort of like I have got on the background. I will be concentrating, I promise. But at the moment it's extra time, and I think we're going to be. I don't know how they're going to do penalties because I don't think they can actually stand up with the amount of water that's on the pitch.
What's that?
That should be interesting. And if we're all watching it, we've probably all got different feeds. Yeah, I think Matt's ahead of me, so that's interesting. I knew something was going to happen there. So, So welcome aboard. You'll see that we've got a number of guests this evening. I thought rather than invite one or two, we'll invite as many as we can. So we're gonna discuss the test event on this Tuesday that's gone. Went well. I think it'd be a really good opportunity just to see how everyone found it. And obviously, please send in your questions, observations, anything like that, and we'll put them on screen. If you've got any questions for us about a test event, we will try our best with that. So, without further ado, who we got? We got, of course, George Jones. He hasn't been sacked yet. He will be later on this evening. Rocket, Robin Bedford, obviously.
Even?
I called you Kit Person now because I think I have to be like politically correct. So Kit Person, obviously we all know Rocket at AFC Wimbledon. Matt Hillock, the retail manager. Good evening.
Hi, mate.
Mark Lewis. I just called him because I didn't know. I called Mark Lewis the tall person.
I've been called a lot worse in my times too.
Yeah, to be fair, I thought you might. Yeah, me too.
Evening.
And also Russell Earl. And I just called you a social person because not social in terms of talking, just because social on a social network, welcome. Welcome on that. Okay. So I thought what we'd do first of all is we were all in different stands. So I was in the West Stand, but I was in the accessible seating with my father-in-law, who tried to run me over a couple of times. George was in the West Stand. Obviously, Rocket was on the pitch, so that's a good. It was be interested to see how Rocket found with a crowd behind him. Matt was multitasking on the evening. On North Stand turnstiles and also in the stand, Mark Lewis West Stand, and Russell, you were over in the scoreboard corner. What's that? The northeast?
Northeast, yeah. It was on the east, but yeah, northeast.
So you were literally right next to. You weren't far away from the TV screen, were you?
No.
My quote.
Literally in line with it.
I don't know what we called it, to be fair. Jumbo. It's not a jumbotron because that's what Palace used to call theirs, didn't they? At Crystal Palace on that side of it. Before we start, I thought what we'd quickly do is just have a look and see on the evening. We've got a few different pictures and video feeds. Let's have a quick look of what the evening was like.
It goes on and on and on. Remind me of everything tonight. Yes, I'm in the zone. I get a good feeling. Dreaming about the things that we could be. You already know. That's what feel me when I'm in the spot. Don't believe me, just watch. Oh, isn't too late now to sing. I need a one dance. And then we start to dance, and I'm singing like, oh, I want something just like that.
Might be over now, but I feel it still.
Oh, it's how I feel it.
Duh.
I want you to be happier because I'm happy when I'm wiser and I'm older. 'Cause you make me feel alive. It goes on and on.
And that was all credit to Mark Hendricks. I asked him this morning. I had a great idea. I just didn't know how to put it together. So I said, "Do you mind just putting some bits and pieces for me?" And I'm reliably informed by my wife that it's a TikTok. Is it a sensation? I don't know. Some sort of music that TikTok are playing now. I don't do TikTok. Anyone does, or anyone can let me know. Please do. I have no idea. TikTok. That's one of the things I'm trying to stay away from. Otherwise, my life is over. Gary Fletcher, good evening, people. Do Sutton now have a new song? It only took 123 years. Is that how long it is, Gary? Yeah, I did see Seb Brown, interestingly, obviously saying 10 years later. He's obviously gone from the National League into League 2, which is great in a way, actually, with Seb. So that was nice to see. Obviously, we had the celebration of our 10 years since we got promoted at the City of Manchester Stadium all those years ago against Luton. And now Sutton join us after let's be fair, we played them a lot of times, didn't we? Like, I'm trying to think now. Didn't we play them in like? What was one of the cup games? Didn't we get goalkeepers sent off or something? Can someone remember that? Mark.
Paul Smith. Paul Smith either got injured or sent off.
He dislocated his shoulder, I think, didn't he?
There you go. Well, Rocket was almost certainly there, and so Frankie Howell went and got.
Yeah. And
the less said about Frankie Howell's goalkeeping skills, the better. Frankly, I was behind that goal, and yeah, it was.
Isn't it mad to think, though? You think about Rocket. It's mad to think now that we were playing Sutton United, obviously in the first ever game, friendly-wise. We played them in cup games, etc. Now they're in a league. We're literally a league apart from each other. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, because I remember when sort of 10 years ago, they were almost felt like a bigger, well, not longer than 10 years ago. I remember when we played that cup game, that felt like a big game for us, playing a bit against a big opposition. And now it's now we've overtaken them. Now they've sort of caught us up again. So
yeah. And George, I'm gonna have to do the interview with their chairman. Was saying that actually they're thinking they will be able to change the pitch, i.e., dig it up and get a grass pitch on there. Do you know what? For me, it's a worry because I think like if that's just one season, I'm not saying Sutton are going to be favourites to get relegated, but you know they are part time in that conference. George, what do you think? It's a lot to do, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, it's a big risk. I mean, we saw Harrogate have to do it last summer when they dug up their pitch and relayed it with the grass. But it is a massive outlay. You look at Sutton, realistically, they are going to be fighting relegation next season and probably for the next few years at least. Certainly with a loss of a large proportion of their budget that pitch provides. So if they do go back down, I think they're in real trouble. I think this is one of those of if they don't make it stick in the Football League this time, it'll be a long, long time before they come back. Because if they drop back down in the conference without the revenue generated by that artificial pitch, they're going to be in for a hard time.
Yeah, and do you know what? They have a lot of use for that pitch.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I've been down there a few times.
we'll actually use because use their pitch quite a lot when during bad weather. So we'll have to find somewhere else to train as well now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, is there many?
But I think they are building
pitches?
a new one though. I think they're building a new one in the park next door. I believe.
Oh, okay.
I don't know when that's ready though. But
yeah, because is that the only 4G pitch around us?
Well, we got Carl Shorten.
It's Carl Shorten. We've used Walton a few times.
Yeah. Tooting have one of their backup pitches, don't they? One of the sort of spare pitches at Tooting's artificial as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got a 3 or 4.
Yeah, I've seen us play. That team up north. I've seen us play them there at youth football before. That pitch behind there. Matt, I was just saying, obviously, it's still 4-4, so it could go to penalties on that side of it. Matt, I was just sharing with you beforehand, like the chairman at Forrest Green, obviously, is very much a green person, not green person, but he does everything green. But he has brought in. I was amazed by this. He has brought in a digital kit. And I had to look it up because he was so excited about it. But basically what it is, nowadays in social media, and Russell, you might be able to add me in this, we can get a picture on that. But, you can now, if you send a picture of your head to them, they will superimpose it on the kit, the new kit that comes out 2 months later. And for about, I think it's £5 for just a headshot and £10 for the whole kit, you get to have a digital presence in the new kit. Matt, what do you think?
As I said to you on the text message, I feel old. I'm not really sure I can get my head around that, to be honest.
It's on their website.
I don't get when you'd use it. I just it's.
We're doing
in our shop. Let's put it that way. Let's see how it goes.
Rocket, what about you? We could have a digital signing.
Get a player
in,
get a
digital
signing.
I don't really quite understand. So what, you get your own individual kit, or the players' kits have different faces on them?
Basically, basically what you do, you just send your picture into them and they superimpose it on the kit. And it's a digital presence, so you can put it in your avatar.
It looked like you're wearing the kit, basically.
Oh, okay.
It's a great thing. We could do signings in the summer. Get Robbo just to go, right, we're going to put you on a digital kit. Send us your mug face in.
It saved me printing loads of shirts every time I sign stuff.
It just made me chuckle on that side of it. But and he was also saying about apparently like they're using bamboo or something to make the kit. Like they are.
Yeah,
The new ones even they've got even greener for the new one. I was reading it's like use coffee grounds and plastic and stuff, and so
Stu, the guy you're talking about is Dale Vince.
Yes, I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah, he's the founder of Ecotricity, who sponsors that kit as well. He's basically been one of the pioneers because this type of stuff. One of the events that I used to run was that kind of sector, so I know a bit about him and follow him on Facebook or whatever. He's been one of the pioneers of overall wind power before anyone had a clue what wind power was. 2 or 3 decades ago. And to be fair, obviously now it's all coming on stream. So
yeah,
he likes taking people on Facebook, and he does actually answer as well.
Which is always good. Yeah, do you know what? I think anything that's saves the environment and helps towards that is great on that side of it. On there. Okay, so in terms of test events, so yeah, what do we all think? Let's go around quickly. Mark, what was so before the game? Where were you? Where were you going in? You were in the West End, weren't you?
Yeah. So there's an interesting thing. The test event was. I mean, I've been commuting back into London, working for 6 weeks or so I'm fine with trains and whatever else. But the test event was the first thing and the only thing that my wife and 2 of our kids, where they've been in a group of more than about, I don't know, more than their school class at school for the whole of the the last 12, 13, 14 months. So they were a little bit nervous about it. I was obviously excited about it, little kid, however old I am, still a little kid when it comes to football. We were in the far left-hand side of the West Stand. And someone asked me at work, was I going to cry? And I said, probably. And then, of course, it started raining. And Matt checked my ticket. Poor Matt was out there with Claudio and others, taking tickets and everything else. And it was raining at all the wrong time. We were so far wide on the left stand in the sort of strip, whatever that block that is, 108 maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not. It's the one that's not like a full block when it's next to the staircase. And I can tell you, because it happened to us, that when it rains and when the wind blows in a certain direction, all those seats get wet. However high up you were, we were about halfway up. So, yeah, we got quite wet. Everybody came out. Everyone's got all those great pictures you showed on the video earlier on. And my camera phone just completely steamed up. So I haven't gone.
It gave in.
Do you know what? In line with the 18-yard box. That was great.
Do you know what though? Right, when I went in, I was quite fortunate. Of course, we were in the accessible seats. Mandy, bless her, she saw us and goes, "Do you want to come in?" This was like 10 to 6. I'm like, "Yeah, it saves waiting out here." So we went in, and as people arrived, it was like basically like a Premier League game where like you've just got tourists coming in, looking at the pitch and taking pictures. Like it was just an amazing sight. In terms of pictures and stuff like that. So, Matt, you were on the North Turnstile, which is basically the new road that's been built. Is that right?
That's
where
right,
the corner pin, isn't it?
Yeah. So just near to the corner pin, yeah. So that I have to tell everyone how much preparation went into this as well. This was months planning this, and the couple of weeks leading up to this as well. The stress of everyone who worked there has been palpable. It's everyone's been getting really nervous, and we've been having so many meetings about it. Obviously, when there was this much riding on it, we didn't want to put that sort of pressure on volunteers, and that's why everyone at the club was multitasking, which is brilliant. When you look back at it, it was a proper team effort, and everyone worked together. But I just needed to let the people know watching this that there was a lot of preparation went into that, and I think it paid dividends. There's lots of people behind the scenes people don't necessarily know about. Mandy quite rightly gets a load of praise. There's other people like Chris Mapley, the IT guy, who does a lot of work around the stadium and a hell of a lot of hours. There's Paul Moran as well. There's Claudia and the marketing team as well, and everyone working up to this event. It was stressful, and so then when you get to the actual night and you get up there and George is the first in the queue, surprise he'd been there for 3 days, to be fair, and his ticket comes up on his phone, and I try and scan it, and it's not scanning. The QR code's not scanning, and it becomes quite clear quite quickly that it's the reflection on George's phone that it's not picking up the QR code. So after 2 minutes, I'm like ducking under a table trying to get some shadow, and I'm just looking down the road, and there's 100, 200 people queuing up, and I've spent 2 minutes trying to do my first ticket, and that hasn't scanned, and I'm not. We're welcoming people. Go, oh, welcome back, hello, and inside I'm just thinking, I want to die. This is going to be horrible. And then later on, I mean, we're still struggling later on. And then it was obviously raining very hard, and you've obviously got a mask on as well. And I'm blind without these glasses now. So when doing things close up, so it was covered in raindrops, and the steam was coming up from the mask as well. So I couldn't see, and it wasn't scanning. And I'm not going to lie, it wasn't a pleasurable experience. But we got through it. We learned from it, and that's what a test event is for as well.
Agreed.
The problem with the tickets was purely due to the fact that we put them on a blue background. So you have the white and black QR code. We know now that should go on a white background when it comes up on your phone. That's all it was. Because the people who had printed out their tickets on a white bit of paper, I mean, the scanner just had to get a sniff of that paper, and it was ding, in you go. So it was all. So these things, like, as I say, we learn from them, and we know what to do next time. But it then, once we got our heads around that, it started going a bit smoother, and we managed to get everyone in. And then, obviously, it's very difficult when you're stood outside. Anyone who's been out for a wee or something at an away game or whatever, and you hear the big cheer when you're in the toilet. Well, I heard the cheer of the people coming out, and I still stood at the end of the road. I heard the cheer of the goal as well, and I'm like, but it was worth it in the end, because the buzz around the place on Wednesday when we knew we'd passed, I mean, everyone had big grins on their face, and it was a huge sigh of relief, because everyone had worked really hard to get it done. So, and it was lovely being back watching football. When the players are a couple of meters away from you and stuff, and hearing the thud of the ball properly, and it was great.
And it's exactly why I invited you on also, Rocket, because obviously I know how much work goes in behind the scenes. And Russell, like, I don't know about you, but I've been fortunate enough to be there before, but I sort of forgot how big that ground is. Were you surprised? You can see it on TV, can't you? Were you surprised?
Definitely. The biggest surprise is you don't see anything of the ground apart from obviously the main entrance of the West Stand. If you walk all the way around, because of the flats, you don't actually see the ground.
Yep.
It's you wouldn't believe you're in a town in London with that busy junction where what there is as well. It is literally just hidden away.
Yeah. Where was your entrance? Where was the entrance for yourself going in?
So we were the North Stand as well. So where Matt was, there was like three rows for each zones. So we were in that queue, as Matt says, although we were luckily near the beginning. And I can vouch with Matt. So we luckily I'd printed them off, our tickets, but the people in front of us, they had it on their phone, and it took ages for them to get through. Yeah. And then, as Matt says, with ours, they literally looked at it, and it went through.
Yeah, and Adam Hill was saying, well done everyone, huge achievement getting it sorted. QR codes are generally tricky. But it's why the test events are there. That's a simple reason, on that, because and with 2,000 fans, that's obviously 25%. Rocket, it must have been, obviously for you, you've been there most of the season, all season, with a handful of people. It must have been totally weird to hear people in the stands.
Yeah, it was. I think me and Trev stood in the tunnel when the players came out for the warm up, and actually got a bit emotional just hearing a bit of a cheer when the players came out. That was. We've been odd. Just it felt like pre-season all season because there'd been no real crowd. This felt like almost like the first game of the season, kind of with that buzz about it. But yeah, it's so nice just to have a crowd and just hear some noise and stuff like that. And
see other people.
That ground, because we've never experienced any noise in that ground. We've been there training, things like obviously the games. So yeah, just nice to hear cheering and chanting and stuff like that. So yeah.
Were you surprised of how loud it was? Because I was fortunate enough to go to a few games, and I was always thinking this place will be rocking when it's full. Well, it was rocking when it was only 2,000 people in there. Like, that sound was crazy, wasn't it, Rocket?
Yeah, and I think that's, although it's a sort of weird having the flats around it, that actually is going to make a big impact to the atmosphere, I think, going in the longer term. And we're still quite close to the pitch generally. unlike a lot of modern grounds. So again, it's another thing that will help. And the standing area, that should be even with a couple. There's, I don't know how many people were in there. It wasn't that many, but even there was quite a lot of noise coming out of that end already. So yeah, like you say, even with a small crowd, you can actually generate quite a good atmosphere.
Definitely. Mark, West Stand. I hadn't seen the concourse area, so I hadn't seen the sort of the west end, the west part of the stand that's closest to Plough Lane. That concourse is absolutely massive, isn't it?
Oh, it's huge, yeah, and there's just going to be so much room for people spreading out. I didn't actually go up and see very much of it because my kids are quite they've been quite sticklers to everything through the whole pandemic. So it was like, don't go up there, you're not supposed to. The regulations said don't leave your seat and move around. So I thought, oh, I don't know when. I wasn't really bothered, and I was quite wet. But at this point, the rainbow had come out. But no, the interesting thing about how far left we were was we could, as Rocket said, we could hear the safe standing people singing. And also, because we were closest to what will be the away end, there's about 4 or 5 people there, 2 of whom I spotted that I know because they used to sit in the row behind me at Selhurst and pick on the opposition right back in a very merciless and really childish way, considering they're both about 50. But anyway, they were singing and they were chanting and whatever, and using the industrial language and all that football fans do. But you could hear them as well, and that's only with a few fans there. And obviously we could hear the rest of the stand. So most of the time I was just standing, looking at the rest of the stand, kind of in awe and admiration. Apparently, when I shouted Muppet after 32 minutes, the stewards then started talking to me. Or not talking to me, looking at me intently.
Probably thinking, oh,
can't imagine why.
They're probably thinking, oh no, we're going to have to deal with him all season.
Well, I won't actually be sitting there. I'll be sitting much more centrally. You know, we just thought we'd go a little bit left just to see what it was like.
Definitely. George, obviously, you're with me, you were there. Obviously, you've obviously set the record already for being the earliest person at Plough Lane for a fixture. So that's already set and probably unlikely to be broken. How did you find it? Obviously, we've seen that at North Road, haven't we? But I don't know about you, but since I've been there in December, so much had changed.
Yeah, but I mean, it was very sort of emotional, I think, that whole experience, seeing fans back for the first time. And I mean, like, I first visited the site when I was volunteering at the shop at Centre Court, and when it was still a building site. And for me, I got the same feeling on Tuesday as I did that day when I first went, and just the sheer scale of it and the emotion of what everyone's been working towards for the last 17 years and the product of all of that. We saw that for the first time Tuesday, and it was a great experience. And I mean, yeah, there were things that didn't go as well as we'd have liked in an ideal world, but it was still great. It was still Plough Lane. We were still being Wimbledon fans watching football at Plough Lane. And I think that's something that's going to stick with all of us who were there forever, because it was a genuinely emotional evening.
Yeah, I won't lie. I didn't see anything to go wrong because I think I had a permanent smile underneath my mask for ages. Like I was like a kid in a chocolate factory. It was weird. How was everyone, Russ? How was it for yourself? Because we've had a season of not being at games, and that's the cold hard truth about it, isn't it? So going back to football games is really important. But how did you find it? And also, what was it like? How did you find it in terms of social distancing and face masks and stuff like that? Not that people weren't wearing it, but how did you find that around you?
Around us was really, to be honest, was really. I don't know how many was in that corner. I mean, there was quite a few people there, but there was. I think there was a gap next to me, so I was right next to the stairs. But there's one chair with the social distancing tape on, and then my wife was next to me, and then I think there was 2 spaces, and then some more people next to her, and then literally the scoreboard was next to us. So, but yeah, there was people behind us, people in front of us, and people across from the stairwell on the other side as well. So there's quite a few there, and I have to say the stewards definitely from our part were brilliant. I mean, a few times she came up where people had removed their masks and said, "Can you put your mask back on?" Oh yes, or Yeah. So I can't fault the steward on where we were for definite. That she was brilliant, and that can't be easy going up to people, and telling them to put their mask on as well. Anyway, but. No, really, really good.
Yeah, I had a good feel about it. Even for the fact, and I heard a few people say this, but we all looked after really, really well. Actually, like I say, my father-in-law, naturally edgy going to a new ground because of, you know, he's on his wheelchair and stuff like that. But we were looked after so well. I'll tell you a funny story actually. The steward that took me in, I was saying to her, I said, "Oh, I do apologise for my ugly mug being on the picture as you walk into the club shop." She didn't really hear me much, and then all of a sudden she saw me and went, "Oh, that's you." Yes, that's me. I should get your autograph. No, not that serious. So I do apologise for anyone that has to see my mug going into the club shop. I don't know why I'm at the front of the front of house, front of the stadium. That way ain't gonna last long.
It's all right, Stu. I just go in the shop the back way every day.
Mate, do you know what? I can't believe how big that picture is. Nobody wants to see a bigger picture of me than that, do they? Do you know what I mean? And the funny thing is now, my son's got a haircut, so no one can actually recognise him. But do you know what? In all seriousness, it was such a great campaign. I know it was running the diversity and inclusion. And I don't know if many people went through the actual. I've imagine, Rocket, you've been through there, but the actual pictures as you're going through the main bit are really striking. Rocket, there's obviously quite a lot of pictures everywhere, isn't it? It's starting to feel like home, isn't it, in terms of the pictures and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, well, I mean, the pictures I was involved in putting them up, so they've only gone up in the last few weeks. So before that, so we've slowly, over the weeks or since November, we've slowly been moving in and it's gradually beginning to feel like home a bit more now. And that's part of the idea of the pictures, was to actually make it feel like a football ground and make it more homely. So there's more to come on that. They're sort of almost short-term, temporary pictures as well. So yeah, because it'd be nice to eventually we'll have some pictures of the stadium with a crowd in it as well. Is another thing we're sort of waiting for.
How were the players on? How the players after? I Robbo. I know I chatted to Robbo the day after. Actually, he said he couldn't concentrate, which I'm not surprised because he looked emotional. I think a lot of people looked emotional that evening. But how were the players that were involved in there? Because they obviously, you get that adrenaline. This was a friendly. There's no doubt about that. How were they? Were they really excited?
Yeah, they were, because especially most of them were the sort of younger ones who haven't even really played in front of a crowd, probably not that big, even at any point in their career. So just seeing a crowd, it's all quite I think that sort of almost affected us a bit second half. We never really got going. So I think they were just buzzing and to be back playing football in front of a crowd, and because even some of it was their first game at Plough Lane as well. So
Mark, under 23s didn't really play the game, did they? Really, they were supposed to let us win, get a dodgy penalty. I thought that was all part of the sort of like the testimonial feel.
Well, to be fair, the first goal, which again we were just straight in line with that, was like, this is about 3 yards offside. That's why nobody did, because it was 3 yards offside. And I was in line with this, like, well, I can see it's offside. No one needs VAR to check that. That's why. And then it was like, he hasn't given it. All right, then we might as well celebrate.
Yeah, I think the goal celebration was a bit muted. We never really got that proper goal because everyone just assumed it was offside, I think.
And then we were waiting for Phil to announce who it was, and then he didn't, or he couldn't, or he wasn't allowed to, or whatever. So, that was quite muted. But then, I mean, we were down the side where, the number 11, I can't believe he's only 16. But their Liverpool number 11 second half was tearing into poor Jack. And, we didn't really jig things together to be able to give Jack much support, really. But no, they were decent players. Obviously, if they're going to beat even Liverpool youngsters, they're going to be good players. But we gave it a decent crack, and considering it wasn't obviously close to our first team, as a football match, I quite enjoyed it, even though it was obvious we were going to lose. But I think that's down to what you were saying there, Stu. It was a live game. It wasn't on iFollow. It wasn't a dodgy one stream thing, and it wasn't that whole wonderful period through the winter where unfortunately it looked like we could never buy a goal. So they gave it a good crack, and they what was fascinating for me was my youngest has not really watched many of the iFollow games, and she was with us, and she commented at the end, and she commented on some Liverpool players. She also commented on Elliot, for example, in midfield for us, and she's never seen Elliot play. She doesn't know who Elliot is. Yeah. And she commented because she'd noticed that he was here, there, everywhere, and trying to put himself about, So,
yeah, definitely, I agree. And just give an update: Newport have just scored their third goal and fifth on the evening, so they are now 5-4 up on aggregate. I think that goal was in the 118th minute. Do you know what? I should laugh.
Just hit the bar as well.
Have they really? I shouldn't laugh, right? But isn't it funny? Oh, yeah. Sorry, Matt, you are ahead of me. They've just hit the bar. Is that the second time or the first time? Or...
you know what? Until the very last game of the season, I didn't realise that there was some delay thing on iFollow. So all my football group were watching things live, and I was about 40 seconds behind.
Yeah.
So they just put a message on the saying bugger, and then a corner would come in, and I would know that we were about to let a goal in before I even saw it.
Yeah, George did that. So I was on a 2-minute delay, believe it or not. And George would literally tell what was going to happen. So I told George in the end, can you please not put anything on there for 2.5 minutes, just in case? Because I just knew it was coming up. Like if I saw, well, I won't put the language that he used, but I'd normally tell what end it went in at on that side. But yeah, do you know what? I think with iFollow, I think it was just... we've all watched games on TV, haven't we? Do you know what I mean? Just to see a game of football. Like the other day, I literally went for a walk. I live near Crawley, so I literally went for a walk just to get some fresh air. And I actually walked down to the Crawley ground. They got a pitch across the road there, and there was literally Little League players playing. I stopped for half an hour just to get a football fix because, like, I was just so excited seeing people just do normal things. And the parents probably thought I was proper dodgy, to be fair, but it was, it was so nice just to see. A game of football. In terms of anything surprised you about the ground? Anything that you sort of saw and you thought, oh, Joe, I didn't know that was going to be like that? Or was there anything that surprised you at all? Or anything that was better than what you thought? I
think the sound was better than I thought it was going to be. Because when it got loud in there, as I said, I was still at the gate up at the top when the first goal went in and when the players came out, and the noise was substantial, and that was from the end of the road. So yeah, that place is going to be nuts when it's full. I can't wait.
Yeah, I feel sorry for the locals. Do you know what? I was when I was waiting outside, I was at the West End. I was out there quite early, and it was really interesting to see the players walking in, as if like Robert. I don't know if he did, but they were all walking in down the Plough Lane and obviously into the ground. But I saw a couple of, obviously, people that have just moved into the flats looking around, and I'm thinking, if no one told you there was a football stadium behind you, then you've got a real problem. But, like, it's good because it is loud, isn't it? It is loud on there. James Scorer just asking, how did the trialist get on? So I think we all know by now he was from Lewes, was that right? He was always
Lewis.
I never know how you pronounce that name. Is it Lewis?
Lewis,
yes, yeah. Like my surname, yeah, just different spelling.
I just call it Lewes because I thought it was posh. It looks a posh place, doesn't it, the old Dipping Bag? But how do we think he got on, George?
Yeah, I mean, he had a good game. I thought it was very much a raw sort of project. You can tell he's not going to be one to come in to be a Joe Pigott, 20-goal a season striker. He's going to chip in with a handful here and there, probably. But he looked decent enough. I think we'll probably have another look at him at some point. But he certainly looked, capable.
Certainly an interesting thing to bring a trialist into that sort of game, isn't it? Russell, were you surprised that there was a trialist on there? Because we all like a trialist, don't we? We all like a trialist to see who he is. Do you know what I mean? And find out who he is.
I mean, round where I was sitting, they were all thinking it was Joe Pigott, and he'd been put down as a trialist, and there was an announcement going to be that he signed a contract. That's what we were. But and then when they come out, we thought, well, we don't recognise anyone who looks like Pigott. So yeah. But no, as you say, it's a weird game that I don't know if he's been released by Lewis or not. Because if you look into it, they were saying he only looked like he signed from, I think, last season or season before, and the way the manager was talking was he's doesn't want to let him go. So I don't know what's going on with regards to it's available. Or...
Yeah, I think that season finished early, didn't it? Of course, because of that sort of size. So I'd imagine, like anything now, people are looking around for that sort of side of it. Rocket, I noticed there's no squad numbers or anything like that at all on there. Was that just the old kit being used on Tuesday?
Yeah, it was because when there's so many, because we haven't actually got bundles of stock, to be honest with you. So, so yeah, we just to say sort of shirts and just when there's trialists, it's always do you put their name on and things like that. So we just used a sort of stat. Most of them did have squad numbers, I think.
Yeah, most of them did.
Yeah.
I think Callum was probably the only one who didn't actually have a squad number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you finding it, Rocket? Obviously, you've been there all season now, but how are you finding the facilities compared to Kings Meadow? I know they're pretty like chalk and cheese, but How are you finding it?
It's brilliant. It's just nice to actually have stuff that's yellow and blue in the dressing room. Obviously, the facilities we've got are so much better now. There's a lot more space. It's just, I just love walking into it. Just going in every time I go in there. It's like, wow, this is ours. You know what I mean? We've never had that. So yeah, it's brilliant.
Did anybody else think that as well? Like, Mark, did you think that, seeing just simple things like AFC? Like, for me, I'm the saddest person ever, but I got excited by seeing the floor, the floor, they sort of said AFC Wimbledon, floor 1, floor 2, floor 3. I just got excited seeing our name on something.
Yeah,
I felt like we've always borrowed
saw that.
things.
Yeah. I saw that, and I saw your ugly mug, as you put it.
I do apologise.
When I went in and bought a couple of things from the shop from Matt a couple of weeks ago. And then I thought, hang on, there's an upstairs. And there's a lift going over this. Like, what's that all about? Then you begin to understand the scope of the stand, you know, and that's before the video came out with Joe, you know. But it's simple things like you go into the shop and they've got some great images up there on the wall of the old celebrations we've had, and you know, people running through and so on. And that's even without the crowd, as Rocky mentioned. So we've always got so used to it. I mean, you know, way back in the day when we were sharing at Celeste, you know, we literally found out that they would take Palace things off the shelves in the shop and put some of our stuff back in, and sometimes they forgot, so they left Palace stuff in there as well. And you know, that's 20 years ago, and some of us obviously are old enough and cynical enough to remember all these things. So just having our thing and the scope that Matt's got there in the shop to put loads of stuff in, loads more new ranges, and hopefully even through things like the vaccination centre they got there at the moment, that's going to bring even more people in to know about the club. George and I helped out when we were in Senegal, and there were loads of people coming in there who had no interest, well, no knowledge actually of football, but they were people who lived in Wimbledon, and therefore they were keen to get involved because of the local team.
Yeah, and do you know what? I had a few people coming up to me just whilst I was waiting, just asking what was going on, which I found is funny actually. Like, there's a football focus, but the thing is, you're right. I think Russell, you said it doesn't look like a football stadium, like in terms of it's hidden, isn't it?
It is.
So you probably wouldn't see it. I'm trying to think. Actually, there's only a few vantage points that you actually can see the ground. I don't think you can even see the floodlights from memory on that side of it. Scoreboard wise, though, I'm always a bit of a geek about scoreboards. Impressed with scoreboard, Russell?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard. I mean, we was on top of it, so I suppose we didn't really get the effect of it. It's probably as much as you lot on the other side of the ground. But nice size. I thought probably. I don't know how it is for the south stand, but I'd say definitely for the west stand, it's fine. Yeah, seemed to. I mean, they were. I don't know if anyone noticed before the kickoff, they were putting different things on there and trying it out. So okay. I think they can do more with it than what you actually saw.
Yeah. Rocket, can you see it from the touchline?
Yeah, you can see it. I think you can pretty much see it from every seat in the stadium. I think certainly at least 90%. Yeah, you get a good view, certainly in the West Stand, and yeah, I'm pretty sure even in the East Stand you can still see it. It might be, I don't know if the crowd will affect it, but yeah, you can pretty much see it in every seat, I think.
Joe, I have to chuckle as well. There was a recent, the official site recently done the video with the analyst video. And do you know what I noticed? Robbo just doesn't celebrate. Like, there was, I think the only one I think he actually really got a little bit excited about was Pigott's equaliser against Rochdale in the last minute. But from what I was looking at it because literally everyone was running off the touchline, and Robbo literally just walked. He's very cool. He's very calm, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think that's something which he prides himself on. I mean, you look at it as what he was talking about when Ayub signed his contract, about his reaction to Ayub's celebration against Accrington with the corner flag. And it's just, Robbo's always very much we're going again. So there's no point going around celebrating, going over the top, going mad because we've scored, because it's all about the restart and making sure we get things right to go again. So I think that does mean he doesn't over-celebrate for most goals, but I don't think there's anyone with any connection to Wimbledon who didn't go a bit mad when that goal against Rochdale went in. I think we all went a bit over the top as that one went in.
Rocket, I have to ask you, with obviously Ayub, kit-wise, what kit is he? Because I remember when Bayo was there, Bayo struggled getting, didn't he, with the shorts and stuff like that. Kit-wise, he's a small lad, isn't he?
Yeah, He's probably not as small as you think, though. He's a small, but he's not. I wouldn't say he's the smallest. He's probably not even. I think Elliot's probably smaller than him.
Yeah.
Trying to think who else. He's probably bigger than Shane Rockman as well.
Okay.
So yeah,
and that's where it's deceiving, isn't it? Because I haven't seen him live. He wasn't playing when I was at early games. But he's a very strong boy, though, isn't he?
He's brave as well. We get stuck in. So
are you surprised? Are you surprised how he's got involved? Because he looks like he's. To me, I always think a sign of a player's ability is when the senior pros on the pitch want to give him the ball, and that's been very apparent. Has he settled in really easily?
Yeah, it feels like he's just sort of been there all the time, but he hasn't, because he hasn't really been in many squads even this season until Robbo sort of came in. So yeah, he's just sort of slotted straight in. I think it helps. There's a lot of academy boys, so they all know each other. Like he knows Rudy quite well, who knows all the academy boys basically. So yeah, they all sort of slot in straight away. He's been around the first team for 2 or 3 years, I think. So he's not fresh on the scene, as it were.
Matt, obviously, he's now signed a 3-year contract, or an extension of a 3-year contract. He's probably going to be one that people might want their names on the back of the shirt next season. Any plans to get pre-printed ones, or are you still going to stick to like?
We do. We do always. So when Rocket and I kind of plan it together, so I do most of the ordering for the letters and numbers, and then Rocket would kind of say, right, I need, I don't know, 50 of this name block or what have you, because you then pre-order the name blocks as well, and we'll always take the most popular ones. So we'll take a few Pigots and blah de blah, and I think yes, we'll definitely be getting 10 or so Asals next year.
Mark,
to go on our new beautiful third kit.
Yes, which for summer, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean that will probably be on sale in July. We also have a big top up of the home shirts. I should probably explain what went on with the home shirts. So the home shirts came in basically almost like a size smaller, and we've obviously written to Puma and said what the hell's going on. But then so the way you order the kit is you have like you're going to have to see this, like a curve going up and down. And you're with your most popular size at the peak of the curve, and that's usually a large. So because they came up small, the most popular size was now extra large, and we hadn't ordered as many extra large as we had large because they're further down the curve. And so then you get to the point where for the first time ever, I think, the sponsorship wasn't sorted out in time to have Puma put the name on the shirt. So we were trying to get a better deal when there was possibility that it wasn't going to be Football Manager, and then it was Football Manager. So we got them printed. We got the shirts blank from Puma, and then we got the logos put on the front from a company. And obviously we researched that properly, and we went to the guys that Palace use and Manchester City use, because in the Premier League your sponsorship is never sorted out in time. So you always have the shirts flown in, and then you print them in the UK. So we use this company. And basically 50% of the shirts of 2XL and above, and probably 20% of the shirts of XL, they were put on Wonky. So you not only had the nightmare of the shirts coming in a size small, which is nothing completely out of your control, and then you had this issue with the Wonky logos as well, and you're just like, God, is there anything else going to go wrong? So plus with the Puma kit, you have. But usually they come in June, and then you start selling them, really late June, which is what they're being, and you start selling them in July, and then you get to kind of October, and you then say, right, how many do we want to order for next June? Because that's how long it takes. So this year they came in September, so you've got a month to then work out which sizes are selling really well, which ones do I need to reorder, and we'd found out about the Wonky logos then. And we obviously got our money back for the shirts, but it's still very irritating that I get emails every day. When's the biggest size of the home shirts coming back in stock? And you kind of say, I'm really sorry, it's not till June, July, because you've got that demand there, and we can't fulfil that demand through no fault of our own. So it's pretty frustrating. But that's the story with the home shirts, and so we'll be getting more stock of the big sizes in when we get the third kit as well. So that'll probably be like a dual thing anyway. And I want to, even if they're available on like the 28th of June, I'm leaving it to July because that's when the new year starts. So my target, and I've been given a ridiculous. Delay it a couple of days, and they'll have all themselves in July instead of June.
Least you're honest, Matt. Least you're honest. I'm not going to ask Rocket, yourself, or George about the kit. Mark and Russell, what are we wanting for this kit? And I'm not trying to get any feelers because I wouldn't do that to you, Matt. But what colour kit do we think the? Because I'd be true. Every year I've been wrong. Like the green one, I weren't too sure. I was like, I'm not wearing that. But actually, it turned out. Well, I think the thing was, I was like, how the hell is Bayo going to wear that? Because he's going to look like a. Oh look, can you imagine him and then he wore the green boots with it. What colour do you, Mark? What colour are you expecting or hoping?
Well, I feel free, Matt, to tell me to shut up at this point, but I think
no spoilers. Yeah.
What something might be, because I did help out in the shops.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Up to Christmas.
Cool, Russ.
Well, I'd like to see the red and green that we had back in 86, 87.
Is that like the shoulder, the halves on the shoulder?
Yeah.
Right? It's like this, but the green is the yellow bit, and red is the blanket.
Yeah.
Do you know what I saw? And I know we're not having it, but I saw the Puma had done the kits where they actually had the name of the team across the chest.
Okay, so that is a new thing coming in for next season, and that was what was proposed for us for our third kit, and they were very serious about doing it, and we just turned and went, hell no, no one's buying that. So
do you know what's really sad? I liked it, man.
Because it's one thing the players on the pitch wearing it, but when I look at a kit,
it did look awful. Trust me, it did look awful.
How am I going to sell it? And it looks.
It didn't look like a football kit, basically.
No.
It is, and are our teams actually going to have that? Are our teams going to have that?
Some will.
Wow.
Yeah, I think most Puma teams will have that kit next season.
It's the Puma template for next year, basically.
Yeah.
So and I'm surprised because I think Man City, is it Man City I've seen have it already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if they've got it, there'll be a few, but we've not gone down that route.
Yeah, it was interesting. Cool. Yeah, do you know what? I'm not too sure. See, the away kits I've always liked. Like the black kit was great, the green kit, was it the purple kit going back to
Maroon?
Maroon, sorry.
Maroon,
yeah. Well, a bit dull on sort of like some nights when there was literally terrible floodlights, which I don't think we had a problem.
You can't beat the Melon kit though. Everybody hated the Melon kit until we got to the playoff semi, and then everybody loved it.
Definitely. So I thought we'd wrap up. We've got about 10 minutes to go. I thought we'd wrap up by just looking forward to next season. I stupidly started looking at what the strength is going to be like in League One next season. I think I scared myself with it. This is going to be interesting, isn't it? So these are the confirmed teams, and I've actually put them in the order. So from top to bottom is basically the order they've the most time they've been in League One. I think Gillingham are the longest, I think with 8 seasons. And then you go down to 7 with Fleetwood. This will be our 5th season coming up. Is that right? Yeah, our 5th season coming up. But if you look at some of the teams, I laugh at Sunderland because they were only supposed to be here for 1 year on loan and they're still here. But there's the strength of this next season. Russell, what are you thinking? Because there's some serious strength in there, isn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't until you showed earlier, and I mean, because even if you think of Cheltenham and Cambridge as probably, they're going to have the momentum from what they've come from. So, maybe whoever goes up from the playoffs, Accrington, Fleetwood, I suppose, with the money, but otherwise you're struggling of who's going to be down there, I suppose, with us if that's where we're looking at as far as budgets goes, I suppose.
Yeah, and there's 21 teams in there, of course. So I was stupidly trying to find one team. I couldn't find them, and then realised I didn't want to include them. So we all know that team is. And then we've got 2 teams that are to join us. So we've got obviously one that won't be successful in the playoffs, which would be either Lincoln or Blackpool. And we now know it would be Newport versus Morecambe in the second League 2 playoff. Who are we, playoff-wise, Russell, who were you impressed with the most in the League One, Blackpool or Lincoln?
So I've been Lincoln. I just think they deserve to go up. They've been up there most of the season, if not all the season. Whereas I suppose Blackpool are coming into the playoffs like we did when we went up. So I think the right two are in the final. I wouldn't like to call it, but I'd probably stick with Lincoln. As I say, I think they just deserve it.
Yeah, George?
I think Blackpool. I think in the playoffs you have to bet on the form team, and Blackpool have that momentum, similar to like what Russell said. The same momentum we had when we were in the League Two playoffs, when we just had an amazing run to get in there. I know Blackpool ended up finishing just outside the autos, but they still had that momentum. I think realistically, Blackpool are the side you have to look at.
Yeah, and to be fair, they breezed past Oxford, didn't they? It was comfortable, which was a shame for quite a lot of people. We didn't enjoy that, did we? Really? But no one was dancing around their living room, of course, on that side of it. Lincoln had trouble, obviously, with Sunderland. Sunderland got back into it. Mark, Lincoln in the end turned the game around. I don't know if I think you did watch it. You were down the boozer, down the what's it called? By the Horns, isn't it?
By the Horns. Yeah. I was in By the Horns, and we actually went in there just for some beers, and then wandered around the back of the stadium afterwards. But I didn't realise the game was going to be on in there. It turned out there were some Brentford fans in there, so they were quite excited when Forrest scored that goal.
Oh, yes.
On the strength of that game, Sunderland looked like they had the game wrapped up. White missed an open goal, and then they got it 2-0. But then second half, Appleton got amongst them. He changed half his midfield, and to be fair, they deserved it. They missed a penalty as well, Lincoln. So no, I'd agree with Russ that they're a decent team. They played pretty well against us, even though they turned us over 2-1 in the last minute. But I kind of got a soft spot for Blackpool, but that's probably only because I jumped on a podcast with a Blackpool fan who makes all of us look positively unemotional and unengaged. He's so completely obsessed with Blackpool. And I messaged him on Facebook after they won, and he was so excited. But then he said that apparently they didn't beat Lincoln in either of the games, but then added that they couldn't beat us either. So, who knows what that means.
Well, yeah.
Obviously, but I mean, I didn't watch the second leg, but if you're letting in lots of goals in playoffs, like Newport and have done tonight, you wonder whether when it gets to a final, will they be able to see it through. But the interesting thing for me, looking at your list, is so many of those supposed big teams, your Sunderlands, your Ipswiches, your Portsmouths, they've had a core of players the last few years. They've come up short. Now they're going to lose a lot of their core of players. And actually, you're not really going to recognise that kind of team. I wonder whether you were Plymouth or whether you were Shrewsbury, who ended up having an awful end of season, whether you're going to be concerned about that as well. So, I guess there's 3 groups of 8, really, isn't it? And the trick for us is not being in the bottom 8 and being in the middle 8.
There's a lot of groups. There's a lot of tough teams in there. Like, you think about Ipswich, Paul Cook's done he's got rid of everybody in terms of that. You look at Burton Albion, who Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank had a great second half of the season. Charlton, Wigan may spend money. Wycombe come down. Let's be fair, Wycombe only come down on the last day of the season, which I think is amazing. And they're gonna love Plough Lane because it's gonna be nice and soft for them for their landings on there. But Rocket, it's a tough league in the next year.
Yeah, what actually struck me was how that we're actually one of the teams who've been in the league the longest. I think that shows how hard it is actually to stay in League One, either going up or down. So I think Charlton will be strong this year. I think they've got a good manager.
Yeah.
A lot of the others, it's like Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, don't know what they're
about
like.
them.
Yeah, they'll be. I have no idea what they'll be like. They'll either be good or bad, probably. Rotherham will be strong, I imagine, as a yo-yo club. So yeah, it's hard to like the COVID impact, whether that affects budgets, things like that. So I think it's going to be probably quite a tight league again. But I have no idea other than that. Sunderland could be, could not be. I don't know.
And you got to look at Bolton as well. Bolton coming up.
Yeah, Bolton will probably be all right.
Yeah, they're a big club. Plymouth doing. Yeah, I looked at it and I hated it. I wish I never started it. To be honest with you, but I suppose if you look at it a different way, we are going to have a lot of people interested in coming to Plough Lane. Not obviously Wimbledon fans, but there's some big away support there, Rocket.
yeah, that's good for us, obviously, with the atmosphere and income. So yeah, and obviously, I think being a new ground for everyone is that ticking it off the list as well. So there'll be a lot of they call ground hoppers who sort of coming along, aren't there? So yeah,
George, who do you want first game, George?
Well, first, assuming we're allowed a full out, it'd be nice to have someone like Accrington or something. You know, a team that's, it's nothing hugely special aside that we can beat without too many difficulties. They're not going to come down with players on 10 times our wage budget. So, I'm going to be really boring and say a small team. Let's say Sheffield Wednesday for the final day of the season when we can beat them to get into the playoffs.
Oh, George, I knew you were going to, yeah. Anyone want to comment on that? I'll bring what else in now. Anyone want to comment on that? How do you think we're going to do next season? I know we haven't even really brought anybody in. Obviously.
I think the momentum thing is a big shout that you talked about there. Wickham have got momentum coming down.
Yeah.
Ipswich, yes, they're going to have money. Possibly Wigan are as well. Possibly Portsmouth are, but they're going to be completely starting from scratch. I mean, we don't know what the situation obviously is with whoever's going to play up front for us. But apart from that, the rest of that team's kept together. Will Nightingale's managed to get the closest to a full season that he's ever managed, for example. So if we've got the core of a midfield, the core of a defence, and like Robbo said, he's not having to reinvent the wheel and put 6 or 7 new players into the squad, or 4 or 5 new players into the team, then we don't have to wait until mid-October before we're actually seeing the first choice 11 that we want to see.
Definitely. And Richard Farrell is saying, Matt, can we get a few bigger sizes for all of us bitter drinkers?
Well, I can do better. I can do better than that. What I've been working on for the last a couple of weeks is an active wear range, an exercise range. So then you buy the exercise range, you use that, and then you get all the shirts.
Do you know what? I remember seeing years. Do you know what I remember seeing years ago? A Spurs fan on a train on an underground, and what's the old kit they had? Was it Kappa? Like, it was skin tight, and this guy was probably as big as me, and I'm like, mate, you should have looked at that before you put it on. Like, it don't do anyone any favours.
To be serious, and actually answer the question, it depends on what supplier you use. So there are certain suppliers who will go up into larger sizes. There are certain that won't, and it just so happens that the ones you get the really decent. Half of my job is trying to is find out which suppliers are good at some things, and so you go to different suppliers because that's their strongest point. So we know that the people we get our polo shirts off, our casual polo shirts off, and they do the fleece and the gilet and stuff, and did a really good job on that. They did the ladies' wear range, which the sizing was completely and utterly out on. I totally hold my hands up to that. It's not really something we could test beforehand. So now that's them. We never go to them for women's wear. We're trying a new supplier for an entirely new women's range as well. So, and one of the stipulations, the 2 suppliers actually I'm going to for a new women's wear range. And I stipulated you need to be absolutely confident. It was ladies I was dealing with both time. I said, are you confident in this sizing? As a woman, are you confident in this sizing? And one of them replied and said, yeah, I wear it myself. So, yeah, it's about which suppliers you use. It just so happens that the suppliers that do a really good job, then you're a bit restricted on sizing. But obviously, I'm always on the lookout for new suppliers anyway.
Superb. And like I say, test event, we now know we've got obviously the safe certificate, and we know we need the next test event will be the whole West End full to capacity, which is as many as you get in Kings Meadow, near enough, isn't it? I believe about 4,000 or something like in that stand, which is ridiculous. And then it will be a full house friendly in the summer where we can buy our new away kit.
New third kit.
Third kit. I'm not
away kit Spain.
Yeah, so this is Nick. So your home kit, away kit, change kit. I never know what they're called. Let's be thankful we don't get into Europe. Or we could have a Papa John's trophy kit, couldn't we?
We could have a cup kit. Let's get a cup kit going. I'm sure that'll go down well.
Just to give Rocket more work to do. He's even got enough on there. Cool. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Matt, as always, thanks for your hard work. in the club shop. Much appreciated as always. Rocket, it was nice that we gave you some people to join you at Plough Lane for. I bet that was really emotional. I know Trev was quite emotional, bless him.
Friends.
Yeah,
It's just it's nice seeing people you normally see every other week, and then haven't seen for like nearly 18 months, probably, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, it's just nice seeing some old faces.
And do you know what I've been saying for a long time, that some people have been lucky enough to go to football, but you have to realise they've seen nobody. It's probably not been worse, but sometimes when you're at a game and there's nobody like to talk to, or there are, it must be horrible. So I'm really pleased. And with that, Mark, obviously, thank you very much for joining us. I'm glad that you were giving business.
Friend.
I'm glad you were giving business to the pub. Yeah, well, obviously you enjoyed the pub. I'm sure By the Horns are going to love us being at Plough Lane, and the corner pin, which I still find amazing, is going to be the designated home pub, and it's literally on the away end corner. That'll be fun with some of the clubs that are coming down to Plough Lane next season. Russell, thank you very much for joining us.
It's fun. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And I forgot George. Sorry, mate. I forgot you, mate. I was looking around thinking who else it would be. George, actually, I think probably be good to announce that George is going to be doing some summer podcasts on behalf of the 9 years. George, do you want to give? I've just literally chucked this on you. So
you've just thrown me under the bus on this one, so thanks, mate.
Well, it's supposed to start next week, George. So I'm trying to give you a nudge. Do
Yeah.
you want to give a little bit quickly what we're going to be doing?
Yeah, so it's going to be trying to be a bit more in depth. It'll be a series of one-on-one interviews between me and various people on the footballing side of the club, speaking about the area they specialise in. So whether that be physiotherapy, sports science, performance analysis, recruitment, any of that sort of analysing that side of things and going into a bit more depth and trying to help people understand the various specialist areas at our club.
Cool. I look forward to that. And one of the things I know you will be getting involved is expected goals. That is something that I'm literally doing a lot of stuff on at the moment. I've chatted to Robbo a couple of times about expected goals. I think we're both as like, what the hell is expected goals? But it's supposed to be the really quite important tracker, which we did really well last year. So thank you all for joining us. We will be back next week, and this will be out on the podcast on Monday. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week.
It goes on and on and on. Remind me of everything tonight. Yes, I'm in the zone. I get a good feeling. Dreaming about the things that we could be. You already know. That's a real me when I'm in the spot. Don't believe me, just watch. Oh, isn't too late now to sing. I need a one dance. And then we start to dance, and I'm singing like.
Might be over now, but I feel it still.
I want you to be happier, because I'm happy when I'm wiser and I'm older, 'cause you make me feel alive.
Hello.
Well, it looks like it might actually be working.
Hello everybody, welcome to the 9 Years podcast.
Oh, well, no, don't joke with me that we're live. Oh, wow. I'm very sorry, everybody. We were miles away. We were pondering this defeat. I can't talk today. People are just rubbishing it because it's never going to happen. And I'll bet my mortgage, my life, everything I have that Neil Lardley will not go to Notts County.
Interesting.
Apparently they've had 18